Hey Martin, how you doing today?
Hey, really good. How about you?
Pretty good. My name's Terrell from Big Gold Belt Media. Got a lot of questions about this project that you guys have here.
I'm here to answer them.
Well, look, first one, I love a good play on title, double life. I love when that gets used in the movie. I also like when the characters find some non-subtle way to say it in the movie.
Yes. Yeah, that was important to both of them to have that as part of it too.
uh, One is as a director of this movie, what were some of the uh, inspirations or elements that you wanted to bring from either other films or maybe television to this?
I think that playing more on the sort of 80s style thriller that we don't get to see very often anymore, um, where you set the audience up and you keep them on the edge of their seats, and in a case like this with two female protagonists, what I wanted to do is go back to that kind of genre where you something happens, the audience gets there with you, and then they're on this journey with you that takes you through a number of different machinations that you keep thinking, oh, I figured this out, I figured this out, I figured this out. And I don't see a lot of movies like that now. They'll either do the sort of the way that the series Motive used to do it, which is here's the crime and here's why. And a lot of movies will
Right,
tend to set you up like that, where they say, okay, you're watching the crime here. Now let's figure out what happened. In this case, um, that sort of takes plays second fiddle to this relationship between these two warriors.
right,
That they're both wronged by the same man. But again, he's a minor character, in this, that screwed up and did something terrible to both of them. But we never get to have retributive justice on him. They never get to explore it
right.
because they're constantly sort of cascading in through, caper to not caper, but situation to situation, and the audience keeps going, tell her, you have to tell her, you have to
Right.
tell her. So the audience has got this, and through most of the movie, they're wanting this truth to come out because that's what they're holding on to. They're holding on to that truth. They don't know who did it either. I mean, and then once that gets solved to a certain point, when they have to be honest with each other, when Sharon is cleaning up her house and Joe comes in and says, "I need to tell you the truth here," and there's that really uncomfortable truth that comes through. How many times did you sleep together? Oh, but it doesn't. There's the way that Javicia played that too. I loved it. It's
Right.
like, oh, but it's like, thanks,
That brutal
and there,
honesty. That's what you wanted.
yeah, exactly. On the couch that you were going to have me sleep on. And
Go
I
get
just
clean
thought
sheets.
it was so beautiful. Yeah, exactly. It was so beautifully played. And, uh, you know, once that happens and once the audience goes, okay, I can relax from that part of it. Now everybody has to figure out who did it, because it may not end up being the ones that we've pointed a finger at all the way through, and it ends up not
Right.
being them.
Yeah, it definitely threw me for a loop there. I was like, oh, I guess wrong. Uh,
Yeah. I love
uh,
that. I
you know,
love that you can say that, because that's really what I was aiming for with this, was keep everybody thinking, okay, I know this, but let's get this dealt with first. And the reason that's so important is because it's another misdirect. The whole idea of the two of them having a relationship is a misdirect.
right. Talking to Javicia yesterday, one of the questions was like, would this scenario kind of play out in real life? Like, if two women were with the same guy, would they be able to put away that difference to solve murder? I feel like, well, that's on him now. Let's just move on. That has been the end of the story. There wouldn't have been a plot
Yeah,
there, right? Like,
I
so
think you're right, and to be as honest as she had to be with Sharon would have killed the relationship. You
oh
have
yeah,
to be, and honestly, what's interesting is that Sharon feels it does, but they can't, and in the end, that final scene plays out so quickly. But you think, if something else happened tomorrow, they would still be together. That friendship would take them into that, and eventually they'd have a chance to talk about it, because they never get a chance to talk about it in the movie. You know, there's
yeah.
a
Like I said,
there's that one line in it where they're walking through the halls of the old folks home, and it's like, did he love you? I don't think he did, and she's honest about it when she says, I don't think he did, but I loved him, and the audience feels for both of the women at that point
Right.
and wants them to be able to be friends.
Yeah, at that point, Joe's character is, something to kind of get through at the moment because of what was going on, the situation that was going on in Sharon's life, obviously, which kind of led him to that. We don't know if he was a good dude, but we know the scenario of what kind of led him to Joe, and so
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And in terms of casting, I'm not sure how much input you had as a director. Did you have to go through a lot to cast those two roles, or did it
No,
take a while?
no. Well, okay, here's the truth you may not know. I don't know if Pascal would have shared this with you or not, but Javicia was the first choice for me. She was, I was a fan. I actually have a directing friend that worked with Javicia in Batwoman and said, if you ever get a chance to work with her, and I had heard from a bunch of her crew too when she came into the role of Batwoman the way she did,
Right.
that everybody was absolutely thrilled with this woman that had come in, and it took no time at all for me to sort of think, okay, that's the kind of person I need as this primary warrior in this thing, that has to stumble into a problem, and be able to fight and both mentally and physically her way out of this thing. Um, and I met Javicia on a Zoom and fell in love with her. So that was an easy cast for me. Um, uh, I originally cast Trisha Helfer in the Sharon part, and Trisha I had known from Battlestar Galactica, and I thought, okay, I'm going to pit these two people who I know can hold their own in this fight with with the darkness that's coming after them, and then with each other. And so Trisha was very excited to do this. And the weekend before we started into production, she called in tears and said, "Oh no, I've done something to my knee, and I can't walk." And she said, I can still do the part. I can still do the part. And I went, you can't. And I mean, you've seen the movie. You know that there's no way that somebody who couldn't walk could play,
Right.
Sharon in this run and jump that had to happen. And so Trisha very, very gracefully bowed out. And that left me with, in literally a week, not even a week, it wasn't even a week away when we were going to start production. And I called the studio and said, I have somebody that can do this because I've done 3 series with Pascal, Sanctuary and Arctic Air and When Calls, and another 3 movies with her, and thought I know somebody that can do this. I know somebody that can hold her own with Javicia as the other protagonist. And truthfully, I called her and I said, "What are you doing for the next 3 or 4 weeks?" And she goes, "Why?" And I said, "I have this part that you're going to fall in love with, and I need to start on Monday." And she grabbed a hold of the script over the weekend. We read it together, and she said, "I'm in, I'm in, I'm in," and we started. And truthfully, it was such a perfect fit, and I'm so glad I had somebody who I had put into situations like this. I'd stuck her into a crevice in a mountain up on the top of the Chief here in Squamish, and she didn't blink, bat an eye at it. And then all the situations that I'd put her in. To put her in with Javicia was a really interesting combination, and I love the fact that the two of them loved each other as much as they did, and fought as well together as they did. So it was fun.
Yeah, the chemistry between them two was perfectly paired. I was kind of hoping Pascal would have had some fight scenes, but like it would have been pretty ridiculous if all of a sudden, like I said, she learned how to fight overnight.
Pascal wanted some fight scenes too, believe me, and there was a lot of discussion about how much she could enter into it. But just being able to hit somebody on the head with the butt of a gun was enough that you'd believe that Sharon could do that. But Pascal was ready to fight too, and I'm like, no, you can't. It kind of ruins who you are.
um, the speaking of the fights, the fight in the it wasn't a
In the
warehouse, but it was
hideout,
like the house,
in the
right?
hideout, yeah, yeah.
Where they like track it. The way that was shot is they're like coming down the stairs and like the whole chase. I thought that was pretty well done. Because I'm not sure if you typically do action, because I see like
Oh
you
yeah,
have
I
like
mean,
a
I started out life directing 10 years of Stargate, and I mean, my original, I did sci-fi for years and years and years with,
Right.
where it was fight after fight after explosion. It's just recently that I've been doing rom-coms where nobody gets to punch anybody, and I'm always like, oh, give me a good fight scene. And I got to tell you, in that fight scene, um, Javicia's natural talent in following up on her Batwoman training and that kind of stuff, I had to in an edit suite dial that way back because both the studio and the network saw it and they went, hey, she's really good at what she does. She's a really good fighter. Should she be that good? And I'd already put the lines into the into the car ride that they were doing with Sharon asked her, where did you learn to fight like that? In order to point, to hang a lantern on the fact that Javicia can fight, and so I had to dial that way back. And even when Javicia saw it the first time, she goes, "Hey, what about this elbow to the throat? How about this thing that I did?" And that she'd done with the stunt people. And I thought I had to cut a bunch of that out so you weren't as good as you actually were in the fight.
I was expecting her to put her Batwoman costume at some point in the movie. Just like, say, I got another secret. I'm secretly a superhero. um, like I said, just the overall reveal. It sits right in your face the whole time, and like you said, without spoiling it, like I was like, man, I should have known. I can't believe I let this get past me as I watched it. I should have known it was this person in the movie. That
Oh, good. I'm glad to
set
hear
this
you
whole
say that. I have not had a lot of people watch it that weren't a part of it, and it's always nice to hear somebody that gets a chance to watch it that says that. So I appreciate you that coming out of you. Thanks.
no problem. On that note, what was your favorite scene you think you had the fun of shooting during the movie?
Oh, I had a lot of fun shooting a lot of them. I think that somebody else asked me this a few days ago before I did any press fest. It was somebody that was working on the show with me. My editor always says, "This is my favorite scene." And I always say, "This is my favorite scene." Like, and we watch it 500 times. And inevitably we get to this scene and he'll look at me and he goes, "This is my favorite scene." I said, "I know it's your favorite scene." And then we get to mine. I go, "This is my," um, and there's two of them in it that I really like. I like, believe it or not, the bathroom find the picture scene a lot. That for me was one of those scenes um, where it's such a subtle way for her to discover this, and the
Right.
audience keeps thinking that the truth is going to come out. Nobody's expecting it to come out in her bathroom, you know.
Yeah, it was
And
so weird. Like, why was the picture of the bathroom?
I had to dial back from when I read the script. I had to go way back to, as a director, I have to show the audience where these pictures came from, because it's not. I mean, if it was just a regular picture, it would be one
Right.
thing, but I needed to show how that happened to them, and so I made this whole opening sequence out of the photo booth, and then it finally ends up it's in this bar, but it's one of those things that just goes sort of under the radar because like, oh, that's the opening sequence, and so what, you know. But then when you think about it, you think, oh, that's where it happened for them, was the two of them went into the bar and they did this. My other favorite scene, I think, quite honestly, was the honesty scene in Sharon's house when Javici comes in and has to confront Pascal. And I think because it's not a typical honesty scene, it's not a typical, well, here's the truth. It is here's the truth. Yeah, so what? Get out. And here's a more brutal truth. 12 times I slept with them. Oh, great. Thanks for that. And get out. And just playing that sequence up inside the house was it was a lot of fun to do that shot where I followed them around and see them both go up like this and have to land what they did with him.
Yeah, that I think was like you said, the truth coming out. I think that was more of a bigger thing than the actual "let's find my husband's murder," because like you said, the audience
It
is
is.
on hold half the movie. Like, oh, is she gonna tell her? Is she gonna tell her? And then she tells us, like,
Yeah.
oh, I think she's gonna tell like that.
Yeah. And,
um,
and I didn't think she'd tell her that much. It's
right.
like, I need to tell you everything. And it's like, have you ever been hit by a broom?
Sometimes just don't open the box. You go looking for it, you go find it. Right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
I'm always curious about the behind the camera stuff. Of course, I mean, I like the movie, but I always want to know like the technical stuff of it. How long you said this took a couple weeks, like a few months to film this?
It was, I think, 21 days or something like that it took us to film it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And I've been doing I've been working on my TV series for most of my career, and so that was, but with something this size, that was fast. And when we sort of came to this script came together, I'm okay. We are going to be running and shooting and moving all the way through this, and it really was in a amazing schedule. I had a crew with me that was were trained in television shooting, and so they were ready to plow through it. Javicia's got television training. Pascal has television training. So there wasn't any of the ability to be able to rehearse and set exactly the shot you want and do this and do that. It was more, this is what we're faced with. We have to shoot this fast. So it was a fast schedule to shoot this one in, but hopefully that doesn't show up in the seams and cracks of a movie like this.
No, like I said, honestly, I couldn't tell. So,
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I didn't really. I also didn't realize this was in Vancouver. I thought this was in like California or something like that.
Nice. Okay, we're very adept at being in another city. We've had to do it for
Right.
years. So I appreciate the fact that it came across like that. Thank you.
Martin, what's next for you? What's your next big project you got coming?
I'm actually right in the middle of a rom-com right now, and I've been bouncing back and forth every year. I do a few more episodes of Virgin River. I've been doing that since the beginning of Virgin River. So I have that. I have another thriller coming up, which hopefully does as well as this movie is doing. Out in the public, because everybody that's seen this is going, I really like this. Are you going to do another one like this? And I think some of the people are asking, are you going to do it with these two characters? Because it would very easily fall into a limited series with the two of them too. But I have another thriller coming up that's going to be a lot of fun. There's a lot of stuff happening this year, and hopefully we get a chance to talk next year about it.
I hope so. Like I said, like I said, I'm already a big enjoying your work so far. I hope obviously you keep working. We can see. I do have one more though. It's kind of what you guys chose to do a theatrical release and a digital release, kind of like a week after that. Any choice in the reason why behind that, or just?
I think the methodology with Paramount is a lot of the times they like to have theatrical releases with these. Paramount is a company that works in features, and
Right.
and for me it's important. And now that they have this digital wing, for them it's important to get it onto that streaming service as well. And I mean, it's always nice to see your movie on a big screen. We shot it anamorphically. We shot it specifically for the big screen, and you can see there's some of those scenes where they come walking down those steps, and then you get the city splayed out behind them.
Right.
It's made for a big screen. Everybody's got a big screen. Well, not everybody doesn't have a big screen. Some people are watching them on their phones, but the hope is that this movie gets seen in a big screen, because that's what we shot it for.
Well, look, I could definitely tell. I mean, that's why I said this felt it felt like a made for TV, but with a bigger movie budget. So it definitely came off as like theatrical. Like it definitely came off like this was supposed to be for the movie. So look, I had fun with it.
That means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, I had fun with it. It was a good time. I appreciate you for doing this interview with me today. You answered a lot of my questions that I had buzzing in the back of my head about this movie, and I thank you.
Anytime.
Thank you again.
Thank you for giving me the time.
No problem. Hope we can do this again.
Absolutely.
See you.